morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is truly a global conversation, and we welcome you to this live event that we're having right now in real time. That's the definition of live. I'm Angie Lau. I'm editor-in-chief, founder, and CEO of Forecast News, and it is my great pleasure to be amongst greatness. And I am not talking about myself. I am talking about our incredible panelists whom we've put together for you. And I also want to welcome all of you for joining us wherever you are around the world. You are great in your own right. And it is through this cross-sharing of ideas that hopefully inspires all of us to achieve something that I think not a lot of people give us credit for because we're women. We still live in that time of the world where, yes, we have evolved. We have understood the power of our voices, the power of our roles, and the power of, yes, our gender in spite of it all. Despite adversity, despite unconscious bias, despite all of it. And so it is my absolute pleasure to share this live conversation with a global audience around the world, talking about global women in blockchain and STEM, of which I am one. But let me introduce to you our illustrious panelists, and I will start with Anne Favre. She is COO of Oasis Labs. Now, Anne has been an earlier contributor to the Oasis network. This is the first privacy-enabled blockchain platform for open finance and responsible data economy. Before that, she was at a little firm called Apple. Maybe you guys have heard of that one. I don't know. And you worked for, you might have heard of the U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. You might have heard of her. Well, Anne also worked for that person. And she went to a small school called Harvard Business School, and also Georgetown University. So we're we're thrilled. You know what? I'm just, I'm teasing you, right?
Yeah, of course.
Wow, that's just incredible. I'm reading this. I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to be here. And the same goes to Meta Parlikar. You see her right there in her purple blouse. She's CTO and co-founder of Casper Labs. Meta is one of the co-founders. She's the CTO. Started working with technology in the 80s. So this was probably a time when, developers and engineers, this was not something that women did. Or build computers in her basement. So a very young Steve Jobs, but much more attractive. And
I have better hair.
Definitely better hair. And for the past 2 decades, Meta has been delivering production SaaS software for large companies like Adobe, Omniture, and Avalara. But her strengths are truly building high-performing technical teams and inspiring them to deliver solutions that solve customer problems. And can't wait to hear how you're continuing to inspire at Casper Labs. I also want to introduce Harriet Cao to everyone. She's co-founder of IrisNet right there in Shanghai. Harriet, welcome. She's the co-founder of IrisNet. Prior to developing IrisNet, Harriet worked for IBM Research in various capacities, including director of IBM Research Shanghai Lab, and was the recipient of 2010 Inform's Wagner Prize. You have a degree in robotics from CMU and a degree in control from Tsinghua University, which is kind of like the Harvard of China. So there you go. We also have Flora Lee there. She's deputy, sometimes I speak English, Deputy Secretary of BSN Development Association of the Huabi Group. Flora is a Master of Computer Science from the Institute of Computing Technology, Chinese Academy of Sciences, Master of Finance from Renmin University of China, served in the Bank of China, China Life Investment with years of experience in the fintech field. And then little old me, I'm the founder of Forecast News, editor-in-chief, and I've spent 2 decades of formative broadcast experience, last at Bloomberg Television as its lead anchor, and really telling the stories to a global audience, and doubling down on the story of Asia and doubling down on the story of technology, blockchain, and emerging technologies that really shape our world. And that is my contribution to this space. Hi, everybody. It's great to have all of you. Okay, so why do you think we're all here? Anne?
Good open-ended question. Yeah, I mean, I think we're all here to celebrate us, and I think to celebrate the great work that women in blockchain and in technology have done. I think it's easy to get to be behind your computer screen and really focus on the work at hand, but I think it's good to pull back for a minute and identify all the leaders that there are that come from such a diverse background. I think so much of bringing new ideas and voices and perspectives to technology and innovation as a result is by having people who have different backgrounds and different experiences. And so I think the International Day of Women and this event are just great examples of highlighting a lot of how we can do that by propping each other up and highlighting people that in the space that are different. So happy to be a part of that.
It's that difference that still is it's a benefit, but it is also a real challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a benefit for all of us. I think we're all just used to being different, right? Yeah. Like we are, we're in what is very much still a male-dominated industry and society, quite frankly, but that is changing. Harriet, in China, there's just incredible talent to choose from. 1.4 billion, right? Population of China. If you are 1 in a million, you're average. That's what they say. That's what they say. How do you see women elevating themselves in China? What are the challenges in your view in the technology space?
Still, actually, my feeling is in China, comparing with many of the other like Asian countries, actually, as I would like to explain, before like I work to work on my startup, I used to work for IBM Global Research Lab, and I traveled many countries, developing and developed countries, especially like in the developing country in Asia. So I would like to say, like, in terms of the inequality, China's situation might be a little bit better than many of the other developing countries in Asia, but it's still an issue. And I think it is caused mainly by the stereotype. So in China, like, there are a lot of things like, say, like we're supporting the equality of the man and woman, but they're just stereotypes out there in the society. They feel like maybe women were lacking of the dedication to the work, to the professional, because we have like other duties, responsibilities for the family, and also sometimes like because of this stereotype, it also even affects the girls, like their self-understanding. So they feel like, oh, maybe like women are not good for technology. And so they're just like better, maybe just for, of course, like we're good for the literature and those things, like women is always very strong, like in the part of our brain. But just because of the stereotype, they feel like maybe we're not good in the technology. So that is what I feel like a stereotype. That is something caused a lot of like this type of inequality, just because of we feel we cannot do it. So,
and Meta, I think you've spent 2 decades proving to everybody that not only can you do it, you can do it with excellence, and and you're building out Casper Labs as we speak. What are some of the what do you think some of the takeaways need to be when you think about perception of talent and how to groom talent, whether they be male or female, but just how to work together? I mean, as a developer and as a lead engineer, how do you think about that for your teams? And I'm just conscious of that because we have a very diverse audience, you know, incredible male allies and, you know, inspiring women in our audience. You know, how do we think about that from a leadership perspective, in your view?
Yeah. So, you know, from a leadership perspective, the way I like to look at it is nurture. I think female leaders actually have a unique talent in that we have these nurturing qualities that are, you know, part and parcel of who we are. And when you talk about nurturing or cultivating talent, that's what cultivating means. Like the term cultivating talent is nurturing. And so creating an environment where members of your team, be they technical, be they not technical, irrespective of gender, you really want to help them. You want to help nurture them. You want to help them grow both professionally and personally, right? And technically. And creating an environment where they can do that is really, you know, really the key in terms of building a fantastic technical team, right? So when you think about what is the most expensive resource in any organization, and across the board, you're going to find it's people, it's going to be talent, right? Attracting and retaining great talent. If you have high employee turnover, that is massively expensive to the organization, right? So attracting great talent and nurturing them and developing them and giving them a path for growth is a fantastic way to retain employees. And it becomes even more critical when you're talking about technical talent, right? So, I mean, this is one of the, I guess, key precepts in my leadership style is I really do pride myself in creating an environment where everybody can grow and learn.
That's such a great point. And, you know, I'm conscious of, you know, the perception out there, which is changing obviously by pretty much every woman in this Zoom room right now and everyone that we know. And, you know, think about your teammates and your colleagues and peers and the kind of input that they have into the company or into the project. Flora, you know, when you're thinking about even doing the blockchain services network as lead, you know, this is about partnership. This is about integration. This is about technology, infrastructure. How do you also bring in your magic, right, and your sensibility and your leadership style to this, to a collaborative product that is BSN?
Okay, thank you for the question. And as we say, more and more excellent women are entering the blockchain industry, which I think is an inevitable process on the development of this new industry, not only in blockchain, but also in other areas. I think women are a curious creature. They're eager to learn and trying to figure it out. Blockchain is an ideal industry, I think. The development of blockchain is much faster than any other areas. And there always come up new ideas, new products, and new events. So I think the industry itself, that we keep eyes on it. The others, I think, women, they are very excellent at so many soft skills like communication, empathy, and self-awareness. And I think all of these skills are very important and can make the team work together and to bring diversity, which I think is very important thing.
This leads me to a question for all of you. You know, as we talk about gender equality, inclusion, diversity, what are still the challenges that you've personally experienced when it comes to this? What are the issues that you think that we choose to challenge today that we really need to blow the lid off of? I'll start with you, Anne.
Yeah, sure. I'll say I've been really lucky in my career in that I've mostly worked for really strong women, and so I've had some really strong mentors in that way. First at working for Secretary Albright at the Albright Stonebridge Group, I think I learned, really firsthand from a really strong woman on how to not treat yourself as an other, but really to make sure you have a seat at the table. So I'd say I would say I've been very lucky in that regard. One thing I would say though that I think we all face, and I have in some jobs, is there's this perception of sort of ambition or drive as seeming as a tone that's more aggressive for women, as opposed to being a sign of power for men. And so I did have a job in the Valley at one point where someone said that I seemed it wasn't shrill, but it was similar to that, very aggressive. And I think at the time I felt so self-conscious about that, but I think looking back on that, I think it was really such a gendered comment. And so I think it's to me in very lucky ways, I feel very fortunate this is true, but I think it's mostly about that perception of tone. But I think I've been lucky that hasn't been true very frequently. So, yeah.
It is that unconscious bias. And Harriet, you touched upon that as well. What do you think the challenges are that we still need to shed light on and overcome?
Yeah, so actually, like for one part, I also agree with Anna. Like when I used to work in like IBM, like in those global company, and so it actually has a very good supportive environment for the diversity. And so actually, I'm very grateful for all the support I received over the year for my career growth. But of course, like when I came back to China, so like to lead the team, so I work with the big work with the customers. I would say like sometimes the difficulty is when you enter the conference room, sometimes they feel like, wow, is that real? Like actually, it is a woman who is leading the collaborative effort. So sometimes like people just has the stereotype they put on their mind. They feel like, or maybe like they need another like more dedicated. They feel like can be better dedicated leader for collaborating with them. So I say like that type of challenge, that is a stereotype. But as a women, what we can do is, so when I enter the workplace, I don't feel like, oh, it's men or the difference of women. Like to all of us, what we represent is professional. So we can show like the quality of the work. We can show the also the strengths of actually, as a woman, we all mentioned that, like the inclusive and also nurturing, like the nature, and also women are really a nature team worker, and we are very good in finding the place for the conflicting situations, like to create the win-win situation. So I think with the perseverance and the dedication and the professionalism, and we can win the respect. Although indeed there are still like challenging situations, but I think like we have to fight for those stereotypes.
We stand on the shoulders of giants, right? All of us, we really do. Meta, you started probably, it's probably less now, the disparity of numbers, the ratio. But do you think that we're doing enough in STEM?
This is a really interesting question, interesting point, right? So my exposure to STEM came at a time when actually women in technology took a really sharp left turn. Around the time when the PC came into the household, it landed up on the boys' desks, not on the girls' desk. And my father was definitely a rule breaker in that. He's like, come on, we're going to go build this thing. And we did it together. It was our summer project. And he really made sure that I had access to technology, which is what I think actually needs to happen. If we really want to turn the tide of girls in technology, we need to put those PCs in front of their desktops, turn some of our girls into gamers, right? Like literally that's what it is in this day and age. And yeah, for many, many years, even today, You walk into an engineering organization, and I'm very familiar with being the only female at the director's table, right? I would be surrounded, my CTO, or the person I'd be reporting to, VP of engineering, CTO, was a male. All of my peers were male. And I found that, again, I'm really lucky because my dad was one of those guys, like, he did not take any prisoners. He spoke his mind. So I've been called blunt. I've been called a little bit aggressive, and I really don't care. And so I think in a weird way, I can be very nurturing, but I can also be extremely direct. And in that way, ironically, growing up as a young girl, I actually didn't have a lot of female friends, if you can believe that, because that was too much directness, right? There wasn't enough softness in my communication. There wasn't, I don't know, not girly enough. I don't know how else to put it, but I didn't have a lot of female friends because I was, considered to be very, very direct. But ironically, in the STEM, space, I was able to just talk, just speak very directly and very candidly to my male counterparts. And if I was to say, like, probably the biggest thing that I really had to learn was to really find my truth and find my power. And that was probably the biggest hurdle I had to overcome in leadership, was really that.
I resonate with that a lot. I mean, I think it reflects a dynamic that has worked so enormously well for you, which is you spoke the language that men could hear, right? But where have we evolved to? How can we expand and acknowledge the unconscious bias? And instead of reacting to it as, Anne and you have both said, aggressive and blunt talk, to women who speak possibly, not like that, and have different styles of conversation and communication. How, as a male or female, disintegrate that unconscious bias that we have judging somebody's ability or leadership or whatnot. Flora, what do you think those challenges are when it comes to something that you've either experienced or something that things need to be addressed?
Talking about the challenges, I think Anna, Harriet, and Mahara has already talking much about the challenges they have already facing. For me, the challenges is also very similar, like that. But despite the challenges, I think women they are also very, very important and playing a key role for the industry, for the blockchain. And also men and women, they have different experience or backgrounds, and this experience and backgrounds may shape their approaches to the business. And but women, they can collaborating with people, or they can think very differently, and this will bring the creativity and promote the invitation ideas, which can push forward organizations or the team. Yes.
I hear you. Well, this is the part where we stop talking about gender politics and us being women. I think it's more fascinating what everybody is building here. So, Anne, I want to understand first your contributions in blockchain, what you're working on, what the vision is, and what can we expect from you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work at Oasis Labs, and we're the earliest contributors to a fully decentralized proof of stake blockchain network called the Oasis Network. The Oasis Network is really, there's two principles that make it quite unique. One is it has a different architecture than most networks that allows it to be more scalable. And so gas fees are very low. It also is particularly scalable for really complex data transactions. So ML queries, more intense transactions, more than just sending tokens to and from. And the second is we have a built-in secure compute, confidential compute built into the network, making it particularly beneficial for running sensitive data and analysis on the network. So we just launched that network, or I should say the community launched the network. We were a part of it in November. And so it mainnetted, it's now out in the world. We have over 100 validators running the network right now, and a growing large community supporting it. And then actually last week, we had a development environment launch as well that's Ethereum compatible. So we're seeing more and more traditional developers or blockchain developers move into using the network as well. And then finally, I'd say one thing we've been really focused on as well is enterprise. Obviously, I think confidentiality specifically is very beneficial for enterprise companies. They have lots of sensitive data that they need to try to run analysis on. And so we've been working very closely with a number of companies, big and small, including companies as big as BMW, as well as smaller, I would say, growth stage startups like Nebula Genomics, which is a direct-to-consumer genomics company, all on helping them set the right sort of data privacy techniques so that they can run the right type of analysis or set controls around how users use the network and use their data on the network effectively. So it's been really cool to see. I'll say I've been excited about just the growth and the reaction we've gotten from the market since the network's launched, and really most excited about seeing the community grow so internationally. So that's been very exciting. I'd say what's next for us is we as a team at Oasis Labs are really focused on continuing to increase our enterprise adoption. And so I've been really focused on taking what we have as an early stage product that's in alpha phase and use sort of behind a sign-in wall to something that can be open to the world. And so that's something we expect to launch at the end of this quarter. So very excited about that.
How has the take-up been, considering Microsoft has pretty much put cybersecurity in front of everybody's?
I think what's been interesting for us is, really, I think blockchain offers so many benefits just to cybersecurity in general. And when you're able to add confidential compute and data privacy techniques on top of it, it creates this really nice sort of magic world where you have both, you can give users both control of their data on a network like this and ensure it's secure, but then also give them some guarantees that data won't be seen or viewed by people that don't want it to be. And so that combination has been really magical for us, particularly with businesses and smaller companies. And so I think what we've been really excited about is we have a growing set of, I would say, developers that are aware of blockchain, but what's been really exciting for us is bringing in people that really are new to blockchain. And frankly, many of our developers of these B2B don't even know they're using a blockchain. It's really about the value that we're able to provide and the guarantees we can provide by combining these two technologies. So that's been really awesome to see. I'd say in addition to things like cybersecurity, these new privacy labels that Apple is pushing forward has been I think a good way of, again, identifying to consumers that they should be aware of this and also that they should be looking for options that are different. So pushing, I think, encouraging companies to move in that direction as well. So yeah, it's been cool.
Thanks, Anne. Harriet, what are you building out at IrisNet?
Yeah, so actually, IrisNet is one of the hub in the Cosmos ecosystem, and we actually started to work in the Cosmos ecosystem since 2017. And at that time, like we feel like when we read the Cosmos white paper and the view of the future of the blockchain industry, the Internet of Blockchains is really resonate with our view of how this could evolve very well. So we really like the open architecture, and so that's why we started to contribute to this Cosmos interchain protocol open source development. And besides, we also feel like the Internet of Blockchain, it needs to be very open and inclusive. And the Cosmos architecture actually supports the sovereignty chains. So every blockchain can be quite independent. So that's why like we decide to collaborate with Tendermint team to launch another hub. And this hub works side by side with the Cosmos hub, but can also provide the other values to the ecosystem. So that is how, like for the IrisNet, we are bringing in our experience in building the real world applications, involve like heavy data, heavy computation, even off-chain, like the heterogeneous different systems. So we build a service protocol. And so that is quite unique to Iris Hub. And also we have the vision for Iris Hub to be the foundation for next generation, for the foundation for the next gen distributed applications. So that's why like we're building the building blocks to enable like say like DeFi applications, so people can develop on Iris Hub with ease, with this type of service interface, as well as all these building blocks. Actually very exciting, like just 10 days ago, on Iris Hub, we are also launched the IBC protocol, which is the Cosmos IBC protocol, which is for the communication layer, message transfer across the different systems. And then also like just this Friday, we are going to work with our collaborator to launch an NFT application, which is an interchain NFT application. So it's very exciting. So there are many exciting things coming in the interchain ecosystem. We are very happy to be one builder in this ecosystem.
Meta, you're another builder. Casper Labs, Mainnet, China Ambitions, Vision. Where you, I mean, you spend the first part of your career building for others. Now you're building your own thing.
Yeah, I am. So super excited, you know, to be co-founder, CTO Casper Labs, building out a new layer 1 protocol. We mainnet in a couple of weeks and token sale on CoinList. So really exciting time. The company is going through a huge transformation as we get ready to launch, you know, the public blockchain internally and externally, governance processes. Oh my, there's just so much work to do. I'm sure Anne is familiar with the transformation that they had to go through last year. So that's where we are. We're very excited. We're working with a lot of companies, enterprise and, you know, mid-range startups as well that are looking to, you know, take market share away from their competition by, you know, providing value-added features using the blockchain. And yeah, ours is a brand new layer 1. We wrote everything from scratch using the CBC consensus, right? From research to a brand new virtual machine and now getting ready for launch. So just really incredible excitement and just, yeah, team is really, really busy right now, heads down, making everything happen.
I know you are busy. Flora, you are busy as well, building out the blockchain services network as a deputy secretary of the Development Association. Tell us about your work there, really building that technology layer for, really, frankly, all of these protocols.
Okay. BSN is short for the Blockchain Service Network, and we started at the we started the work from 2018. We have the source, and at 2019, we have built a test network, and now we have put this network into commercial use. And we have developed, BSN is not a blockchain. It's just a blockchain infrastructure. It supports many different blockchains, including the permission chain or the permissionless chain. In China, we just support the permission chain, and we have already support 4 different blockchain on it. And most of the famous blockchain team has joined our BSN, and including the develop team, including the team we have, including the company who want to use the blockchain application, and including we are also give some opportunities to the students in the college to learn this platform, learn blockchain. We have provided many services for them, and And not only in China, we have brought BSN to the world. We have many cooperation, many friends from all over the world. And there are many, also we have many nodes already built around the world, about maybe 100 around the world. Yes. So we have make really big. We have make a very big and quick development on this network, and we hope this BSN can become the basic infrastructure of blockchain, not only in China but also around the world. Yes.
That certainly is beginning, and the only people who are building out that vision right now. And so back to why we're all here as global women in blockchain, and I'll share with you statistics that we are all too familiar with, that this remains a male-dominated industry. This was a study published by LongHash in 2018, so a couple of years ago, but still fairly fresh, showing that among 100 blockchain startups, female employees accounted for just 14.5%, while the percentage of managers was a measly 7%. And even worse, there was not a single female leader in 78 out of the 100 startups. Obviously, this group is reflective of how those statistics, while there, do not speak to our talents or our impact. And so I wonder for all of you, what are the things that you're doing as you consciously think about how you're expanding your teams, how you look for talent, how you manage the team that you have, and make sure that you have one powerful, cohesive group. As we know, it's good for business. It's good for business to have smart people on your team, regardless of gender. So I'm just curious how you guys think about it. And by the way, before the group jumps in and answers, everybody in the audience, this is also for you. If you want to just pop in and open up the Q&A section of the Zoom part of your toolbar, please go ahead and happy to field some of your questions. But back to this question, how do you think about, as you grow your teams, what are the things that you think about to nurture more inclusion?
I'll go. So one of the things we definitely have is we have a North Star, right? So having a mission and a culture and a vision that everybody's aligned on and you're marching towards. I think that's extremely important, right? And that, and really celebrating the things that we're similar about, right? And so there's some universal truths, right? For people. And so we connect along those lines, right? Around, our mission, our vision, the North Star that the company is marching towards. So I think these can be very unifying things and help lay the foundation for your culture in the organization that you're building.
That's great.
Yeah, I'd say specifically on recruiting as well. I think so I'd say we've been somewhat lucky in that our founder is a woman, Dawn Song. She's a professor from Berkeley, really world-renowned professor. But I think having leadership at the top, we're all doing this, right? But having leadership at the top that reflects a diverse culture is really important, I think, in thinking about how to build and grow and sustain a team that is also diverse. I think one thing we've really focused on as a team as well is how can we think about ways to, not change our standards by any means when we do interviews. Our coding, I'm told our coding interview is very rigorous, right? I'm not an engineer, I'll admit. But how do we make sure that we're meeting people where they are? And so I think there are, different networks that women and male engineers may be in versus other fields as well. That's true for the other types of experience that people have. And so one thing our recruiters have really focused on is how do we make sure we're showing up at the events that that will find people that are not just kind of the same character and person over and over again. So I think that's been a really important thing. I'd say another thing, once we have a team in place, is ensuring we have a culture of radical candor in place, that we really spend a lot of time trying to ensure and make sure that people know when they start what this culture is, and one where we want people to be questioning, challenging, pushing the envelope forward, just as we all are technologically. And so I think creating an environment where that's a safe space to do it, so that people know that one, it's okay to question and ask, but also that it's okay to be questioned, and making sure that we have that environment. So as a leader of the company, one thing I try to do is to make sure I also take that feedback well, that I take those questions as intellectual questions and not an affront. And I think that creates a consistent culture where we're all really comfortable doing that. And ultimately, I think has really helped us lead to the best solution, or get to a decision and all be on the same page when we do. So yeah.
I actually really respect that answer. And it's something that I think reflects all of us, which is to have the conviction of our vision and our voice and our experience and our knowledge, that when we're asked questions, that we take it as an intellectual exercise. Mm-hmm. Because far too often, I think, because we reflect possibly our own insecurity or possibly, another dynamic, it might feel defensive, and it's our own unconscious bias against ourselves that sometimes we have to actually overcome as well.
Yeah, and I'd say
thoughtful.
Yeah, it's easy, I think, as a younger member of a team to feel that way. So I don't fault anyone for doing that. But I think the best thing we can do as leaders is to then show an example of how, an alternative example to that. And so being comfortable being proven wrong, I think, is really important in that way.
That's really great. We have a question from the audience, and the question is this, is for all of you. Is there anything that you do in your workplace or life in general to inspire women in particular? This is a great question, because all of you hold very unique roles in technology and blockchain and leadership. And this is niche. You are niche times 10. So how do you think about, Anne, you talked about it, you lead by example and you lead by showing, right? How about the rest of the group? How anything you do in your workplace or life in general to inspire women particularly?
Yeah, I also want to share like a story. Actually, I want to share one example. Actually, just last week on Friday, we promoted a VP in our team. Like she's a mother with a young girl, like 6 years old. Mm-hmm. And so one thing I think we can do in the workplace is really to encourage the culture. We focus on the results, and we also want to promote the culture of the team working, be open and be inclusive. And we can show actually, as a woman, we can be really we have the good dedication in the work, but we also have really the intelligence to balance, because I think especially as a mother, you really know how well how to manage the time. And so I think Annie also shared earlier, when we becomes more senior, we can do that as an example. I think as a woman, we really enjoy our life full of all this rich experience to really act in different roles. And I think that's a blessing to us. And actually we enjoy all aspects of our life, be a professional, be a mother, and also be a wife. So we can show how we're enjoying all these things. We focus on doing great things to deliver the values. And that can be a lot of inspiration to the young woman.
I think blockchain and the technology is such an elegant, creative process. And in my time as a journalist, observing the world as I do, one recognizes you can't be creative in a singular experience. Creativity exists in the space between. And it's those myriad experiences that you have, the roles that you play. Somewhere there is a spark of inspiration that only can coincide in you because you are the amalgam of all your unique experiences. And can you imagine if you were to discount 51% of the world's population because we might give birth or get married or have different experiences that is unlike what has predominantly been a patriarchal experience? I think blockchain has really benefited from people's desire to think at a higher level and be creative. I think I'd like to end off this conversation with one thing that you'd like to leave our male allies, our female mentees and mentors. One word of inspiration in blockchain technology as people grow their careers as men or women, but how to think about women in blockchain.
I'll start. I think continue on the theme I mentioned earlier, which is I encourage everyone to be curious. I think so much of finding and innovating in new ways is not being afraid to be curious. And we have such an opportunity in a place like blockchain where it's new for everyone. It's harder, I think, in industries where there's a real incumbent to feel intimidated or lost by, the words that we use. In finance, there's so many terms that if you don't know, you feel like you don't know it. Blockchain is so new. And so at first I'd say, like, we're all learning on the job. And everything is being defined now. And so it's a great time to come in. It's a great time to ask questions and to join the community and create something along with all of us. So that'd be my encouragement to anyone who's curious or interested in crypto. You should dive in.
That's great. Harriet?
I think I want to share with everyone is like be open and also like keep the curiosity, especially for the girls. Have the belief in yourself, and you can really get to wherever you would like yourself to be. So we can do well in technology.
Absolutely. Flora?
Yes, I want to share the latest story for myself. I used to work in a very big company, the biggest bank in China. And in this kind of company, is one that there is very low possibility you get be fired. You working there means you have work stable. You don't have much pressure, but that's the work many of people in China they want. But in this kind of company, you grow very slowly and you can't keep up with the pace of the world. So when I find the blockchain industry is very quite a new industry and grow fast, I just give up the work in the bank and entering the blockchain industry, which I think is a very very good decision I made for myself, because which I believe is the change may be the only thing that not change in the world. So don't be afraid of change, embrace it, and you can embrace the world.
And I will also underline the real lesson of that story, which is a legacy system that didn't give you the opportunity to grow, and you entered a field that gave you every opportunity to seize it. And so that's where Flora Lee is spending her time, and the industry is better for it. Meta, I'll give you the last word of inspiration.
Gosh, I think everybody has given such great input here, around curiosity, being open, and, seizing the moment and not being afraid of change. These things are all completely resonate with me. I would say, we welcome the blockchain community broadly welcomes all newcomers. And so you need only to take the first step. So don't be afraid to take the first step. Don't feel intimidated or afraid. What's wonderful about blockchain technology is that these blockchains are almost consciousnesses into their own. They have their own energy and personality, right? And so you can find a community and get involved, and you'll find that almost all of these communities are extremely welcoming, and there'll be somebody that's going to help you learn. So I think it's a wonderful paradigm, wonderful time to learn about blockchain technology, and you can get engaged and involved at really any level that suits you. And so that's what's really, really cool and really different about this space. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced in my, many decades of technology experience. And finally, I would say, this is the future, I think, for our children. A stronger form of money, the digital currency, I think, is going to be what the future is built on. And so if you know somebody young, and particularly if she's a girl, put a computer in front of her, right? And make her sit down and learn a little something about how technology works, because it's going to give her a fabulous career when she grows up, right? One that would exceed all of her expectations.
Sign her up to Forecast News. That
you got it.
We are there for her. We are there for her. Hey, and thank you for being here for all of us, to our great panelists, Anne, Harriet, Meta, Flora, and it was a great honor and privilege for me to host and moderate. And I will just leave the audience with this. It's the power of interoperability. That is the power of blockchain as an industry in the future. And look at the elegance and the grace of collaboration and partnership. If this does not echo the strength of our future, I don't know what will. So until our next conversation, I bid all of you adieu, and find us all in the blockchain community. Wherever you are, we will be. So thanks everyone for joining. Bye guys. Appreciate all of you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Appreciate you, Angie. Thank you. Bye.